Hey, what's going on, guys? I am Follygon, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to sculpt sharp, round shapes. So what do I mean by sharp, round shapes, right? Those seem like they're kind of opposites. Well, what I'm referring to when I say sharp, round shapes are things like this edge here on this nose, or maybe something like this edge coming down underneath the eyelid. Other examples include this form coming down for the brow, rolling down into the cheek. This whole face is full of sharp, round shapes. So how did I make these sharp, round shapes? Well, they all started off like this. This is a planar face that I recently created for a tutorial that I'll throw a link for down in the description, where I go through the entire process of how to sculpt the planes of the head. Now in that tutorial, I sculpt a much more realistic and masculine head, but I use this head as an example. And we're gonna use it as an example right now to show you how you can make sharp, round shapes just like on this face here. The first step is to sculpt a super sharp and hard edge, which we'll be looking at how to do here in just a moment. The next step is to go over that edge and either soften or trim it using a couple different brushes that we'll talk about again here in just a moment. And by using those in combination, we can very quickly get to that sharp, round shape that I was just showing off. So how do we do this from scratch? Well, we don't have enough time in this quick tutorial to sculpt an entire head from scratch. But what we can do is grab a quick sphere and show off a small portion of that process. So go ahead and click on your tool palette, grab a sphere 3D, and make sure you click on Make Polymesh 3D so that you can sculpt on it. The next thing you're going to need is a pinch brush. So let's hit B on our keyboard and then find P for pinch, and I'll just use the default pinch brush. The next brush in our arsenal is going to be the Trim Dynamic brush, which I'll find by pressing B, then T, and selecting Trim Dynamic. Now for this demonstration in particular, I'm going to be using Dynamesh, but that's absolutely not necessary to make this work. So let's zoom in and start pinching an edge. So I'm just going to get a brush, maybe about a quarter of the size of my sphere, and just draw a quick, hard pinch line right through the middle of it. Let's scroll down into Geometry and click on Dynamesh. The default resolution should be absolutely fine. Let's continue to roll through here with our pinch, getting a nice, crisp, hard edge. And if you'd like a little extra practice and you're using a pressure sensitive pen, you could attempt to fade that stroke out a little towards the end. And that way we don't have something that just comes to a dead stop in the middle of our shape. Let's go ahead and re-Dynamesh by control clicking and dragging on our canvas. If that resolution isn't high enough for you and you're getting a little bit of faceting already, go ahead and undo and increase your resolution a little. I'll try maybe about 300. Now, the next step involves using the Trim Dynamic brush. For this, we are going to very gently rake this brush over top of our edge. Very gently being the key word there. And as you do this, just continue to pull through, following the brush stroke. This will help to bevel that edge and start to soften it before we get in there with our smooth brush. Now that should split the shape. From there, go over your split edge or newly split edge on both sides, continuing to trim that shape. Finally, go over it by holding the Shift key and smooth out your form. Now, as an added bonus, a little brush that I like to use in tandem with this strategy is the clay tubes. So let's hit B, then C, and find clay tubes. And I'm going to very gently with this clay tubes brush build up on the side of this brush stroke. Now, currently we're getting something very hard right now, so let's decrease our Z intensity to maybe about 15 or so. And very gently, I'm just going to pull through on the sides of this brush stroke to build up the form. So filling in any gaps. If you're having trouble seeing these gaps, try to look at your shape from the side and notice how it's a little more concave or dipping in on this side and starting to become a little more convex or pulling out on the other. I'll continue to build that shape up very gently, rolling through the other side of my brush stroke all the way to the end. Let's smooth and come back through with our trim brush. Now, if your surface is still a little messy, we can lower the resolution if you're having trouble smoothing out at this current state. You can also use something like the Smooth Stronger brush, but just to make this a little faster, I'll lower my resolution for my Dynamesh. And then finally, with a little bit of extra smoothing, we now have a nice, sharp, soft edge rolling through our form. So hopefully that was helpful and instructive of how I create a lot of my sharp, soft forms that look really nice and clean. If you guys enjoyed the video, click that like button, and if you'd like to learn more about digital sculpting, check out the links down below, namely my Patreon, where I just released a new tutorial on sculpting the head. It's an absolutely immense 3-hour-long tutorial going as in-depth as I possibly can on every little plane change, talking about masculine and feminine rhythms, anatomical norms that we might expect, and all sorts of other fun tips in this step-by-step guide. So check it out. Once again, the link is down below. And with that, you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.